Hey y'all, I was writing up a script for today's video. I hadn't written a script before that, and I was trying to get through it. And I realized this is far too deep of a topic for me to get through in a simple video. There's going to be probably hours and hours of work, like dozens of hours of work, most likely, of writing and rewriting and cutting and cutting and cutting for this to work, because this is something that is deeply important to me. And this is kind of different from the usual build in public videos, because I want to talk about definitions. And the reason I want to talk about definitions is because I think people don't talk about it nearly enough. We gloss over it because it's difficult to do. It doesn't get clicks. It's a very nuanced thing, and everybody has their own version of things. So when I say something out loud to you as a definition, that's just my definition. That's not necessarily your definition. But the point of saying it out loud as I am defining this thing as XYZ, and I'm being very specific about it, is so there's no ambiguity. And I think much of the world's problems and arguments that people have, especially these larger arguments that people have online, just come down to definitions. And it's something I absolutely want to make a video about at some point. It's something I want to write an article about, maybe even a book about, because it is so wildly important. I just don't know how to structure it at this point. Because, when somebody says, AI is bad or AI is good, what do they mean by bad or good, right? Just seriously, what do they mean, right? What do you mean by it's good? What's it going to do that's so good? And then people need to elaborate on that. It's okay. And the more vague their ideas of these things are, the more trouble that's going to cause, because you think something is good, but you don't even know how to define why it's good, right? And the point isn't that you're right or wrong. You might be right, you might be wrong. The point is that if you can't express it, then you can't expect another person to understand what you're talking about. We are all different. We have some similarities, and some of us will understand others much easier because we have more shared experiences, maybe similar genes, brain makeup, whatever. And some of us will have a very hard time understanding some of our other people because we're very different and we have very differing viewpoints. And half the time, conflict arises because somebody is just different from you. And neither one of you have spent... And this is even when people are trying to find a solution in good faith. The parties have not defined things clearly enough where both people have agreed that at the very minimum, these are the definitions of these things. So at the most fundamental level, define what is good, what is bad in a situation. Define it, say it out loud to the other party you're communicating to, right? And the two of you need to talk back and forth. And you may fundamentally disagree on what is considered good and what is considered bad, right? One person might say, eating meat is bad, right? Killing animals is just bad, right? No matter what. Another person might be all no, factory farming is bad, but killing and eating animals is entirely natural. There's nothing bad about it. It's the same as a cheetah eating, a gazelle or something. And that you may never be able to reconcile on. But if you go through the communication process of getting there, right, and you're able to find out that there is a distinct difference in your two definitions, then at the very least you'll understand why the other person is behaving the way they are, and it won't be like this thing that's a complete surprise. You might be like, well, why the hell do they believe that? That just, it makes no sense to me. And that's fine. That's the next step. That's what you try to do. And the answer more or less to that is because they're not you, right? Two people are not the same. They're not going to have the same beliefs. They're not going to have the same definitions. It's just we don't define these things. And now you're just like, this person's a fucking horrible, evil person. He does evil shit. It's like, yeah, except he doesn't think what he's doing is evil, right? Like, when I was really young, I killed a fly once. I was like really mad at this fly because it was buzzing around. I was trying to ignore it. I was buzzing around. It made me super mad. So I got the fly swatter, which was a sandal, and I just, I waited patiently, and then I got it. I was like mad at it. I killed it. It was dead, and I felt bad. I felt bad about killing the fly, not necessarily because I killed it, but because I killed it in anger. Now, was that good or bad? I don't know. All I know is that I felt bad about it, right? Now, some people would say feeling bad about killing a fly is stupid. Other people would say, no, all life is precious and you shouldn't kill flies. You should feel bad, right? The point of that story is there's two sides to how you could view that. I mean, there's many sides, but in a simplified version, it can either be perfectly acceptable or perfectly unacceptable. And whether or not it's acceptable or not comes down to you and your life experiences and the way you view the world. There are no absolute right and wrongs, right? If you believe in God, you can point to that and say this is right and this is wrong. But even then, there's like a billion, trillion, quintillion, infinite number of ways to interpret any religious text. And you see it done by very devout people in very different ways, very regularly. So, at the end of the day, it just doesn't exist. And the problem is we, for whatever fucking reason, keep being told that it does. At least while I was growing up, like with religion, with whatever else, and nowadays with YouTube videos, you've got all these communities saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to whatever, you need to fucking, I don't know. Okay? You don't even need to do fucking definitions. It's just important to me because I keep seeing people fucking not defining things, getting into arguments, and then acting like everybody else is the bad guy. The fact of the matter is, everyone is a bad guy. Okay, I'm talking down to the last man, woman, and fucking toddler. Hell, baby. Everyone is bad. And simultaneously, everyone is good. It just comes down to whose fucking definition you're looking at. I don't know what the actual answers to any of the big questions are. I don't know what's good or bad. I just know the way I define some of these things. And what I know is that if I try to judge others by my definitions without so much as communicating that to them and getting an idea of their definitions, then it's disingenuous of me, or I'm not doing the work required to make a more sound and objective judgment, because it's difficult to do research on this person. It's difficult to get definitions. That being said, I'm not saying that you need to live every moment of your life like fucking Jordan Peterson, being a dickhead and like, oh, what do you mean by the, and what do you mean by at? Like, that guy just uses the idea of definitions as like a smokescreen, as a shield to deflect away any valid criticism. What I mean by definition, what I intend to do with definitions, what I try to do with definitions, is at least when I'm talking to people in real life, and people whose opinions I actually semi-care about, you know, somebody who isn't like actively, obviously a dickhead, I try to understand where they're coming from. I ask them questions about why they believe this thing, even if I very strongly disagree with that. And more often than not, I end up coming back with, I may not necessarily agree, but I end up coming back with, What I mean by is, you are looking at this differently. You are defining this differently. You are seeing this differently. And sometimes it's like, I can pretty plainly see you're just sort of defining it wrong. Like, there's a gap here, and I'm going to try and make you see the gap. And then you can decide whether you agree with me or not. But a lot of the times, there is no fucking gap. They just have a different point of view informed by different opinions, because all of this is up for fucking debate. None of this is written in stone. There is no such thing as objective. But we try to be objective. I mean, I don't really know what else I can say around this, other than I'm going to need to do a much deeper video around definitions. And the biggest thing is going to be examples, because without examples, it's hard to grasp. But I think it's important to have. And I think this is something we really, really, really need to talk about a little bit more. It is not an easy to digest thing. It is not something that I think will get a bunch of views. But yesterday I posted a video saying I was going to try and be as authentic as I can with this channel. Well, this is me trying to be as authentic as I can on this channel. So, yeah, I know this isn't really building a business, but I did some work on my website today and wrote some cold email stuff. And that's really it. So, yeah. At some point, I'll upload that video, and I'll probably not do like an actual build video tomorrow either. Tomorrow will probably be another one of these ranty videos, and the day after, we're probably going to get into actual building. Anyway, that's it. Have a great rest of your day, and let me know if you have any questions or if you'd want to see more of this sort of stuff. Take it easy.